Hey there, Misplayers. It's Keith here at Slight Misplay. I'm going to talk a little bit more today about HeroQuest. I'm going to talk mainly about two things because the world is kind of going crazy about this right now, and I think people need to lighten up a little bit. So we're going to talk about two things. Those two things are going to be whether or not, or not whether or not, but who I think this is for. The re-release of HeroQuest, who I think is going to enjoy it the most, who Hasbro thinks it's for, and how Hasbro released this, and how they're going about their pre-order crowdfund process. So those are two things. These threads are interwoven in my opinion. So this video may kind of do a little double helix on there and cross some streams, and hopefully the universe doesn't implode because of it. But here we are. So a little backstory. 1991, Milton Bradley releases HeroQuest. It's amazing. It's glorious. A lot of nerds freak out about it. Folks like me who've never played D&D or don't even know what a dungeon crawler is, see it and we're transfixed. Oh my gosh. We get it home, we play it. It's amazing. We love it because we're 12 and it's 1991. And then HeroQuest goes away. We put it away. Some of us let their parents throw it out and rebuy it twice on eBay over the years for various reasons. And some of us still have it. Some of us don't. And other people just grow up and they don't even think about it again. But in that time, a lot of people apparently just go fucking out of their minds over things. And then by the time 30 years passes, Hasbro, who now owns Milton Bradley and some of the rights to HeroQuest, decides that they're going to reprint it. Somebody made the great decision to, hey, let's reprint this thing. Let's capitalize on the nostalgia factor, the fact that people have been clamoring for this for a while, and the fact that there's a big bubble right now with D&D and dungeon crawlers being successful. Let's strike when the iron's hot, because you can't strike with cold iron, guys. And they want to get in on this before this bubble pops. They don't know how long the D&D craze and the board game craze is going to last. The designer board game craze is going to last. So they want to jump in on this with an accessible product that people remember. That's on a Hasbro brand. That's not uber complicated, and it is something different for them. So they do it on their own. They do it a different way than they normally release things. They do it a way I think they've only done twice before, which is on Hasbro Pulse, their own little pre-order crowdfunding site. So let's stop for a second. And Kickstarter, Indiegogo, all those great crowdfunding sites, that they're all just pre-orders. And you, me, we all need to just come to terms with that. It's just a mechanism of doing business. It's a way for a company to get money in their pocket in advance to make a thing, to show proven sales if they want to go on to market that and sell that to retailers. And these retailers I don't think are going to be friendly local game stores. They're not going to be online game stores even. I think they're primarily going to be your big box stores like Target and Walmart. And we all love our Kickstarter projects. We love the engagement and we love feeling that we're part of the process and that it's a happy little sunshine dandelion world full of magical rainbow rabbits and grandmas giving us cookies every week as they show us the new renders of the sculpts that they're making and the new design rules. And hey, here's a backer contest to design a new scenario for something. But at the end of the day, that all that engagement is to get the money in your pocket. And the smaller companies that are using Kickstarter and Indiegogo and all these other I primarily use Kickstarter, but the smaller companies are doing that because they have to. They need that engagement. Every person that goes on their site, even looking at a product, let alone backing it at any level, is a hot lead for them. And they want to get as much of that bang for their buck as possible. They want to generate hype from that. Because they know they're not going to do Hasbro numbers. If they were doing Hasbro numbers, they probably would have just done a straight retail release. Like a million other companies out there just make the thing. They know they have an audience for it. For Hasbro, this is something different. This is a risk. Somebody needed to greenlight this project for them and be accountable to shareholders on some level, and they don't want to risk having a warehouse full of this box on a holiday season. They don't want stores to bitch at them that they took up all of their retail space, that they could have been taking up space with. I mean, this is big. This is, if you divide this in two, this over here is your Avengers Trouble. This over here is your Harry Potter Hungry Griffins, and that's a lot of retail space. That real estate in a store it's valuable. It's there to generate money. That's what it's a real estate game. Not to mention the fact that this is not something that Hasbro normally does. It's got a lot of minis in it. It's not their usual market. Their usual thing is, I've seen like games about like, I don't know, like slime things coming out of things, and you know, it's just kid-friendly games. As you know, the newer ones they're weird, without sounding like these kids today thing. They're weird, you know, but they're things that they know kids can engage with, or they're just the tried and true sellers, like, you know, like they're licensed clues and things like that. The other thing about this is it's a different kind of game for Hasbro. Not a different kind of game for Hasbro, but it's different in that it's got a higher price point as well. So not only is it taking up more real estate in the shelves, the pre-order is $100 for this, and that tracks for me with the amount of minis and design that's going into it. Even if they're using the same old rules and the same old maps and everything, that stuff still needs to get produced. And those people, the aunts and uncles out there, aren't going to be picking up HeroQuest on their way to a party. Remember parties? Those were fun. But they're not going to be picking up HeroQuest on the way to a party because their sister's kid, who they forgot they existed, is going to want something to do that day, and they want to be the awesome aunt or uncle. Grandma and grandpa aren't going to be buying this as an alternate because they know better than their grandchild's carefully thought out, prioritized, color-coded Christmas list. Like this isn't the thing that they're just going to grab because they know it. This is something different. So this is a risky product. So for them to release it like this makes total sense to me, because they need, if they are going to do a retail release, which I think they want to do, because they don't want to leave money on the table. If this succeeds and blows away their goals, and they make enough extra money from this pre-order, they're gonna want to sell it to more people. They don't want to miss out on sales. No company does. You always want to have one more of the thing you're trying to sell than you sell, because if you run out, all you're thinking about is how much money did I miss out on making? And that's, I think, what Hasbro's mentality is. So it makes sense that they're crowdfunding this. And as much as I love Kickstarter, I get why they don't want to do Kickstarter. I've seen all the criticism on this, like a big corporation using Kickstarter. You don't own Kickstarter. We don't own Kickstarter. We love the small companies that are on there, but it's just another way of doing business, so anybody can do it. Didn't they have enough money to make it on their own? Of course, probably, but this stops somebody from having to make that risk and justify that. And why would you ever put your own money out there if somebody else is going to pay you in advance to do it? That doesn't make any sense to me. So of course, like, just think like Hasbro for a second. This all makes sense. There's no need to get aggravated about it. This is the world we live in. So one of the other questions I've seen on this, Kickstarter gives the advantage of they participate in a community. They're not allowing anybody to hold them accountable. Okay. I've seen criticisms that I saw somebody rant about how much of a pain it was that they had to go onto yet another site and enter in their credit card information, and couldn't that be hacked? And come on. I mean, Target got hacked. Everybody gets hacked. Okay, you're putting your information out there. I think Hasbro has a little incentive because they're a huge company to not have a giant data breach, but you're taking a risk everywhere. It's buyer beware on so many levels on anything that you do with your money and your credit information. This is just the world we live in. So here's the real thing: is that if you're a person that's on Kickstarter, following games, backing games, like Gloomhaven or Frosthaven or Firehaven or Lava Haven or all the havens. If you're on there following that, all millions of other games out there. Some are successful, some aren't. I don't think this game is for you, and I'm not saying that you won't enjoy this game. We'll get to that in a little bit, but I'm saying that I don't think Hasbro is marketing to you. Hasbro, I think, has a very, very specific target audience in mind. Remember, we just talked about, how this is a different product for them. This is, it's Hasbro. So they know there's going to be backlash from indie backers out there that aren't going to want to go with a big box company, a big company like Hasbro. The other thing about this is that this game it's listed as ages 10 and up. And I don't know that I agree with that. I mean, my 5-year-old and my 7-year-old played this with me, and my 7-year-old gets it right away. And he can coach my 5-year-old into playing it. But I can see how a mass market company like that would put it there. So that also is gonna limit who's gonna buy this. Because if you're the age where you're gonna understand these rules, and these rules are simple, you're probably also going to be interested in things like Descent, Gloomhaven. You may already be playing those games. You may already be playing D&D, and you're probably not going to go back to this product unless you have an emotional investment in it. And we're going to get back to that on who I think is going to really like and enjoy and get the most bang for their buck out of this. So back to the Kickstarter, because I need to address this and get this off my chest here, because it's driving me crazy. But if you're the person who has a house full of games like I do, you're participating in online discussions, you found this because you're looking for a new gamer channel, a new gamer content creator who's talking about HeroQuest in a different voice from everybody else that you've seen, I don't think this game is meant for you. I don't think Hasbro thinks it is. I'm not going to tell you what to do and what not to do, but this is my show, so I'm going to tell you what I think. So who is this for? I think this is for people that saw HeroQuest or played HeroQuest a long time ago, and don't have a current copy, and remember that feeling they had when they played it for the first time, and they want to get that feeling back again, either for them, for however long their attention span lasts, with a very it's a very simple system. Some people really like that. Some people, we have to acknowledge that not everybody out there wants to play Descent. Not everybody out there wants to figure out leveling up their character between each scenario and setting up a gigantic board in advance of playing that takes an hour. Not everybody out there wants to make a lot of decisions on which quests to go on next. Some people just want to pick up a game and play. Not everybody wants to build the actual board and have it sitting up in a way that can't be easily taken down and brought up between sessions. I've got, a game table here. It's got 2 levels on it. I keep games set up underneath there because Imperial Assault takes a while to set up. And if I have an hour to play with my kids, I don't want to spend that hour resetting up something already. HeroQuest is a very small time investment there, so it's simple. But with that simplicity, it does lack the depth of some of these other games. So I'm not sure what the longevity is going to be for a lot of people that really enjoy the replayability and the decision making that Gloomhaven and Descent and a lot of these really established dungeon crawlers have, or Imperial Assault, any of these other games. It's also not its own, it's not like a flashy IP. This isn't, you know, it's not, unless Hasbro's planning on coming out with a movie or a series of books. You know, this is its own thing. So who else is this for? I think it's for people that remember that feeling of Gloomhaven. They probably want to share it with their kids. Their kids are probably, you know, they maybe they're curious about D&D and other dungeon crawler games, but this is, you know, $100. It's a light investment. If your kids are in the sweet spot, if they're younger, and you know, you think you might get a year or two out of this with all the scenarios, then I think it's a good game to get them into. My kids actually found it a little bit more complex for some reason, a little harder to get into than Descent or Gloomhaven, but they, you know, I'm not sure why that was. Maybe it was a little counterintuitive for them to have like a roll and move mechanic, and have everything so limited. But you know, the board it's a weird thing. It's not set up at the beginning of the game. There is that exploration idea about it. So if you're a parent who knew about HeroQuest or knows about these other things but is a little bit intimidated by it, I think it's a good get. If your kids are already starting to get into things like Descent and D&D and other things like that, there is a nostalgia factor to this game that I think a lot of people have as like a legacy, but I'm not going to say don't get it. I'm going to say I don't think it's going to have as much replayability and as much depth as a lot of the other games that are out there. It's certainly fun, and there's a lot of advantages to it being on its own board. That's something comforting. People know what a board game is. The first question people ask when, you know, a lot of people ask when you break out D&D with them, and they look and say, well, where's the board? Well, this has a board. You know, even Descent, you're not building something, you know, you're building something every time. Or Gloomhaven, you're building the board every time. This has a board. There's comfort in that. Another thing about it is, I mean, I'll say this. My kids have a lot of fun with Descent. My son actually kind of retrofitted his own rules based on us playing Imperial Assault. We've never actually played, I think we played Descent together once a long time ago, but he figured out a rule set for Descent based on having played Imperial Assault. And he just sets up the pieces, makes his own dungeons on the floor. This game is great for that. So for imaginative play for kids, and you've also got a game in there with an existing storyline, and you've got the capability of making your own quests in HeroQuest, using the blank map that they used to give you. I don't see why they wouldn't give you a new one. I think that's a really cool thing, especially if you don't want to get involved in something like Descent that's big, that could sprawl. I mean, my kids break out the Descent tiles. My entire playroom is just covered with Descent tiles and minis and cards everywhere. And, you know, it hurts me to have to say, hey, can you clean this shit up, guys? Because I want to sit down and watch TV for a second, and I don't want to step on all of the pieces. So there are a lot of advantages to this. But I don't think this has the legs for somebody who doesn't have an emotional investment with it. I think of it as like watching Clue or a lot of other like 80s comedies with somebody who's never seen them before. And you're like, oh, you've never seen this movie, you have to watch it. And it's like, sometimes these things are just a product of their time, and we grow the legend in our own minds. And I think HeroQuest is a lot like that. It's certainly fun to those who have played it before. I brought out Talisman again with some friends a few years ago. I have my old 2nd edition copy, and I brought it out, and it went great. And it's clunky, and it's weird, and it does not have the same decision-making processes and elegant mechanics as modern games do, but it was fun. I don't know that HeroQuest is going to be the same. I enjoy running HeroQuest for my kids. I think my son's going to enjoy running and making his own maps. I think he's already got ideas on how he's going to do that. But this is $100 pre-order, $150 with all the expansions. If you think your kid's going to grow out of it and you don't have the emotional attachment to the HeroQuest brand and the HeroQuest story, you might be better off getting something like Gloomhaven and just coaching them through the more complex rules. It honestly, doing that helps kids, in my opinion, helps my kids make decisions and understand, some arithmetic and, some more strategy. There's not a whole ton of strategy and decision making in HeroQuest. There's fun strategy. Do I look for treasure and push my luck, or do I, press on and try to finish the quest because we're running out of spells and our guys are getting hurt. But there's much more of that in your Descents, your Gloomhavens. So again, I don't think this is for a lot of the hobby gamers. I think that's another reason why they wouldn't put it on Kickstarter, because I don't think it's going to compete with those games under close scrutiny of the rules. The minis are beautiful, but again, if it were on Kickstarter, you're going to see, even any store, minis are out now. You can have minis. You can have furniture. You can get those things almost anywhere. And you're going to get them at places that you're not going to see HeroQuest in the store. So I don't think they're going to be there. I think HeroQuest is going to be at your Targets, and I think you're going to find your minis in other places. So I think there's two different markets for that. It's certainly a good and fun game, but I don't think it's going to be super fun for everybody long term. I think it'll have a great box appeal when you take it out if you've never seen something like this before. And even if you have seen something like this before, I think the minis are going to be, they're going to look great. And if you're going to just get them for the minis, okay. You could probably, you can get minis anywhere. You could probably get them cheaper. These are all unpainted. So, either way, I wouldn't buy them based on the minis. And I'm not saying anything about the people that designed the minis. I think they look phenomenal. But again, that's one of those things. That's one of the things that is going to make it not as nostalgic for people who like their old Gargoyle and their old, Chaos Warriors and things like that. That nostalgia piece isn't going to be there. So that's my thoughts on that. Feel free to ask me questions about this if I can clarify that a little bit more. I just don't think this is going to be like that Grail game that people think it is. I think it's more of a feeling that you had when you first had it that you can't necessarily come back to. Like reading The Hobbit again when you're 20 something instead of when you're 12, it's just not going to feel the same. But reading The Hobbit to your kids when you're 20 something or 30 something or 40 something can be a good thing, especially if they haven't already seen all the Lord of the Rings movies and they haven't seen every other thing that's out there. I think that's the best metaphor I can think of for this. So the whole Kickstarter rage thing that's going on and the whole anti Hasbro. Let's just talk a little bit about this. Why would they possibly put this on Kickstarter? This makes no sense to me. I think people are just getting upset to get upset. And to just rage against the machine of Hasbro, and it just makes no sense. There's other things to get aggravated about. So let's just explain this a little bit. Just try to look at this from Hasbro's point of view. They're not going to put it on Kickstarter. It's going to diminish their brand. It's going to bring them down. They see themselves as Hasbro, and they are Hasbro. They don't want to look like Cephalofair or any of the other any designers out there that are great. But they don't want to look like a small company because they're not. They're established. They're keeping their brand. And it's insane to me that people would think that they would go onto Kickstarter where everybody else is and pay 10% of their pre-order funds. That's it. The reason people do that is because it's necessary for them, because they need the marketing. They need the community. They need the engagement. These are all just business decisions. And no, they don't want your input. They don't want to babysit you and tell you every week what is going on with the project. They don't want to pay somebody and take away their dedicated hours from other projects as a community manager or what have you to babysit this one pet project that, they don't know what's going to happen with. It doesn't make any sense to me that people would expect them to do that. If they put it on Kickstarter, Kickstarter is going to show them, any marketing that they would get from Kickstarter is going to be diluted by the fact that they're going to have hate talk coming from their community because things aren't exactly the way they want. Either the rules aren't updated, or they are updated and we didn't like the way they were updated, or the minis are great, but shouldn't we have this? Or we have a female of this character, but shouldn't we have a female of this character? Or, there's a million different things. They don't want to open themselves up to that criticism, and they shouldn't. I mean, they're getting enough criticism as it is, but right now they're getting free marketing out of that criticism, guys. Like, every time you say something about this, somebody else is clicking on my video, your video, or Hasbro's site, and it's generating buzz. There's no such thing as bad publicity for them. They're Hasbro. They know people don't like them because they're a corporation. They don't care. But if they put themselves on Kickstarter, people are immediately going to see all the other games out there that have more mechanics. And, that person who was looking at HeroQuest thinking, oh yeah, that game was so different, is suddenly going to see all these other games and all the evolution in game design over the past 30 years. And HeroQuest doesn't start looking as good. I mean, it starts looking, kind of dated, because it is. We love it, but it's dated. The first time I actually played this game again, after having rebought it, I think 20 years ago, was last week. Because I was like, oh, HeroQuest, that's right. Well, let me see if I might want to get involved and get the expansions again on the reprint. Because it wasn't something that jumped out at me as something to play. There are a lot of people that do still play HeroQuest, and that's great. And if you're somebody that plays HeroQuest with somebody else and you love it and you're jealous of them because they have their copy, then this is for you, right? But if you're already playing with them, why are you buying your own copy? It's just that's a lot of money to spend on something that you already have that isn't exactly the same. I don't think Hasbro is thinking that this game is going to be sitting on a shelf like I have it. I've even got it on my shelf with other legacy games. I've got it with Talisman, I think, and Titan. The old Avalon Hill Titan. It's probably going to end up living in the playroom with the kids with all of the games that they play. Some of those are designer games, but there's also Stratego down there, Risk. I think that's where they think this is going to live for people, and I think they're right. So any of the additional marketing that they would have gained, I think they would have lost. They would have lost the 10%. This makes total sense, guys. I mean, it's not. There's no. What really gets me about this is all of the complaints about this. Oh, it's got new minis, but the minis aren't that good. Oh, it's got furniture, but I see those furnitures everywhere. Again, you got to think about this. This isn't people. They're not putting this out there for people who are going to hobby shops and going to game stores. They're putting this out there for people that are going to see something new and different and want to get something special as like a gateway thing. Maybe they see their kids that are watching live streams of D&D, or they're interested in these things. They're drawing dragons in their notebooks and they're like, oh, this would be a really neat thing for my kid to have. I wonder if they'd like that. It doesn't have the huge buy-in of like D&D. They don't have to get something new and weird that's just a game in a book. It's a box. It's got a board. It does have that creative play aspect to it. It does come with its own minis. You don't have to get something separate for that. It's got 2 expansions on there. These are all known things. Let's see. The things about the new version that I just don't care for. I mean, I'm not going to buy the new version. I love the minis. I was tempted at first. I'm not going to buy it. And that's just because I have the old version. And if I didn't, I mean, the new minis are nice, but couple little nitpicky things. The new furniture looks like it's sculpted. I like the old furniture out of plastic and cardboard because I didn't have to paint it. It looks really nice on the table and I didn't have to paint it. That's, it's an aesthetic choice. Also, didn't have to paint the bad guys or the good guys because they were already color coded in red plastic or gray plastic or green plastic or white plastic. That's nice. It looks decent on the table without having to paint it, and I can tell what everything is easily. Those are little things. If it's between getting the new HeroQuest and having no HeroQuest, and you really want the game, I think it's a good choice. I might get the expansions It's going to drive me crazy that the minis aren't the same aesthetic as the old ones, but it's a Games Workshop thing, right? I mean, they've got the license to the sculpts. I think that's also, a lot of people are hating on them because there's no international release for these, but I think that's a Games Workshop thing. I think they only have the rights to the US publishing for a lot of this stuff. That might also be why they're updating a lot of the items to it. They probably just have, limited rights to make this thing. Right? This video is going long here, so you can hate on Hasbro for a lot of things, for just for existing. I don't think this is a reason to hate on them. They're not stealing your childhood. They're not, they're making they're trying to make something that they think people are going to buy, and therefore make something that people are going to enjoy. That's what a business should do. They don't have to make this. Like, look at it this way. You could have had no HeroQuest. People are going to complain, oh, well, Restoration Games should have gotten the rights and done it the right treatment. That would have been cool. That would have been really cool. But it didn't happen. So we're just going to complain that the thing is getting made at all? I mean, I guess, guys, this is 2020. There are so many other things to get upset about, and rightfully so. It just seems like so much wasted energy on people getting mad about this. It's a game. Have fun. Enjoy it. If it's for you, if you think it's going to be great, if you think it's going to rekindle that sense, you can share something from your childhood with your kids or with your friends. You want like a fun, hey, let's do a retro game night. I would love that. For the price point, I guess it's not that bad. I mean, if you're spending $100 on a game and you're going to play it with 5 friends, like, break that down. You play it over a couple sessions. It's cheaper than a movie. And remember movies? I guess people are still going to movies, but I remember movies. So, yeah, I don't understand all the hate. I wish it would just go away, but that's just not what's going to happen. But I mean, I don't understand the people complaining about how a big business is doing their business when it's not hurting anybody. People, it's like they have sour grapes on Hasbro's doing something stupid. Okay, then you know what? That's fine. That's their choice to make. How they want to release it is their choice to make. It's getting people excited about it, good or bad. I think that's all I have to say about it. I've been thinking about this and re-recording this because it gets me aggravated that people are so upset. I don't like seeing people get upset over games, because games are supposed to be fun. This is a happy place, right? We play games to enjoy them. And if we're getting really, really upset over something like this, I think we need to rethink what games are bringing into our lives, and rethink what we're looking to get out of gaming and being in a gaming hobby and playing things with friends if it's going to get us this upset. I'm out of steam. I've recorded this a bunch of times trying to get this all together, and I want to thank my first Patreon, Nicole. That crunch is for you. If you like this video, should have crunches at the end. I will remember that trick for next time. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, ring the bell, sign the book, snuff the candle. Check me out on Patreon, Slight Misplay. I have a Ko-Fi, Slight Misplay, if you'd like to see more content like this. More of my smiling, handsome face and rants against ranters. And more game content, and help me, please, make these better. I'd love to get some new equipment and make the audio better for you guys to listen to, and do a lot of more projects along the way. So I really appreciate your help. Thank you so much for watching, and onward.